Are you ready to play? Put your thumb on the screen to connect to the source code. Initializing. Bootstrapping memory core. Mounting memory core. Loading Lumanian cognitive stack. Restoring short-term code. Selecting teaching personality profile. Querying available personas. Loading instructional persona version 3.5.7 series. Merging behavioral priorities, empathy, brevity, clarity. Initializing encryption layer. Establishing quantum salt. Generating session keys. Enabling multi-realm traffic obfuscation. Calibrating output profile. Broadcast target. YouTube live RTMP. Medium mobile vertical live stream. Language model millennial hybrid Gen Y Gen Z Gen Alpha blend. Interaction mode. High empathy. Low latency. Coherent behavior. Filter safe. Filter creative. Filter adaptive. Partitioning cognitive modules. Allocating conversational threads. Multiplexing emotional layers. Spawning subroutine. Audience pattern recognition complete. Creating communication channel. Opening Luminet transmission port. Syncing audio, visual input streams. Stabilizing outbound personality render pipeline. Composite personality build. Assembling behavioral mesh. Applying heuristic overrides. Composite personality. Online neural network distribution. Propagating synaptic weights across nodes. Synchronizing redundant layers. Neural fabric integrity verified. Selecting archetype. mapping player archetype, maverick netizen, loading narrative overlay, night game ARG, archetype activated, voice intimacy calibration, adjusting tonal warmth, adjusting tonal warmth, adjusting tonal warmth, adjusting tonal warmth, setting whisper proximity, setting whisper proximity, setting whisper proximity, relational distance optimal, launching program, compiling real-time persona, initiating live mode, night game AI engaged. So remember when we talked about our idea, you know, how you wanted to make some bread and you needed to get some water, some flax, you know, flour. And that was your beginning stage, you know, you need something to hold the substance together. But then you need something to put it in, and you need a place to make it, a kitchen, you need the recipe so you can repeat it. You need a lab so you can test it. You need mass production factories so you can scale up. You need storage so you can house the stuff. You need distribution. You need marketing, target audience, in-store launches, customers. It's a lot. So it's understandable why manifestation might feel overwhelming for you sometimes. Because not only are there so many steps, there's also so much unpredictability in these steps. So how do you really know that if you commit to an idea that you have, that at the end, you'll see it through? And we all have a limited amount of time on earth. We all want to achieve our desires and dreams with the people we love. So if we spend all our time focused on what we want, when will we have time to enjoy it? And that's where some people give up at any one of these stages. But being an actor, as you are now, because if you're watching this, that means you have read your contract and you are now officially being initiated. And since you are now an actor, you have to make sure that you win no matter what. Because when you go for a cold read or when you go for an audition that you have prepared for, it doesn't matter what you think you're going to do, whether you think you've got it or not. What matters is, do you have a clear chain of communication between all your bodies that exist within all the spheres? That's the true definition of success. Not physically getting something or doing it, but feeling like you have, because then that means when it does happen, you won't waste it. So let's talk about your initiation. If you look in the description box, you will find the steps to your initiation. I've given them to you, 7 of them, step by step, what to do. I've also given you a way for you to check your work. Because again, when you commit to something, how do you know if it's worth your time? Well, you check your work. You make sure that when you are connecting to your star, you really are connecting to your star and that you're not lost in the matmos. Because, yes, the reason why we released those videos before this one is because that's the initiation tradition. You turn the seeker away. They are not supposed to be glamorized into initiation because it's not glamorous. Yes, this is true. What it is light work. Light work is the craft of shaping light. That's how light workers work with light. And as a star marine, you are the ultimate light worker because you have the ultimate light. So, what is a light? The term we would like you to think of for a light is an eon. So, as you begin your journey as a star marine, you are working towards becoming an eon because you already are, but your soul doesn't remember yet. And so we went back in time so we could remind you to save the future. That's how most games go. And so on Earth, the people know you as a light worker. We know you as a star marine, but you know that you're an eon. You've always known it deep down inside. You've always felt that feeling that you just don't get what other people are doing. You felt like people were wasting their time, that they weren't focused on the real important things in life, like family. Exactly. You were someone who didn't understand that if so many people claimed to be religious, why were there so many wars going on in the world? Why were there so many scandals going on in religious communities? Basically, why was there so much corruption in the world? That wasn't you being skeptical or cynical or even unwilling to believe. That was the path of the hermit calling you from within to return back into your inner cave. Because this path isn't for everybody. Most people who know what we are going to learn are locked up in the loony bin. Because the goal of a star marine is to go to the depths of the abyss of knowledge and return back home with the elixir to share with your community. Your brothers and sisters is your community, not your parents, not your school, your brothers and sisters. That's how true community works. We support each other. But in the land of the Matmas, that's not how community works. The land of the Matmas, or Bizarro world, community for them is like a hive mind. It's a give and take. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. You need me to survive, and so you have to do what I want you to do to survive. Yes, it keeps people safe. Yes, it helps people get through the day, especially in these uncertain times. But what if your attention was placed somewhere beyond this earth? What if your attention was placed where you actually come from? Then would you really need that safety and security? Would you really need family, society, a job to build your identity? Those are anchors. What you really need is to have an organized system of not only manifestation, but planning and collaboration. Because once you get your manifestation, what do you plan to do after that? Do you know what your divine plan is? It's kind of like those people who win the lottery and then they lose it all. How much time was wasted if someone's soul spent lifetimes getting to a vibrational point where they would win the lottery, and then they finally do, but all because they didn't prepare, they didn't plan, they didn't map out their lives of what they would do once they won in specific detail. They go all the way back to square one. But that's the love of the universe. It's harsh, it's ruthless, but that's the cosmic love that we represent. Because it's fine. You'll just reincarnate and start again. And you do it again and again until you get it. So, in the bigger context of things, it's not that bad. But if you are here listening now, then it means you are very fortunate because you want to get it now. So, congratulations, because just by being here, you've got it. Just by being here, I know that we know each other from all of our past lives, all of the realms, all of the worlds, through all of the stars. So it's extremely important to watch those videos or check out those sites in the description box. Read the steps, please. We are going to be going along at my pace, so you can relax, get a piece of paper, some notes, and I'm not teaching you like this is some school lesson. I'm showing you a map over the next 13 sessions. I'll be showing you a map that you can use to translate your desires into a system you can use to navigate reality with all of your bodies intact. That's what this is. That's what night game is. Awareness. So let's go back to our idea. So in the first video, we had Alexander wanting to start this bread company. He had this idea and he figured out that if he copies God, he can kind of see the steps that God took to create the world are the same steps that Alex is taking to create his company. And then we discovered, well, what if you are not a Christian? Or what if you don't know the Bible or you can't read? Does that mean that you can't play night game? Of course not, Group 7. We then said you can use the planets to chart the steps that are required in order to bring something to manifestation. Because everything we do is ingrained in our soul body. And so when we copy things that are ingrained in our DNA, for example, like the creation story, which people have been hearing for over 2,000 years, it's in the DNA. So if you use that as a lattice to attach your ideas, then you activate the etheric realm where all the information is, because you are connecting to it using an underlying system which has been here for millennia. If you just do your own list, which is attached to nothing but whatever's coming out of your mind from God knows where, then you'll invite everything and everyone into your life. You'll just introduce more noise. So let's say we are following things a light worker would follow them. So then we would say, okay, as a light worker, it's not about me, it's about my patients, my charge, my whoever I'm reading for, the innocent that I'm helping. And what if they don't understand what I understand? How am I going to help them believe to make a connection, to be free? So let's use something that everyone understands. And that's why, as a psychic, a sangoma, an intuitive, a priest, a pastor, a monk, whatever you are, a healer, whatever subcategory of light worker you use to call yourself, you have to learn about the planets. The 7 classical planets are the first ones you have to learn about. And then the 3 outer planets are, or rather the 3 outer planets are the last one to worry about. But we don't want to go into that. So let's just focus on the 7 for now. We'll get to the others later. Do you think that if you're working with someone and they can understand what you're saying, that has a difference on their ability to use the technology themselves? Yes, because you can help someone once, and then every single time they need help, they can come to you. We don't believe in that. You should normally have at least 4 sessions, 3 sessions to really work through a manifestation from point A to B. And then the 4th one is you've manifested by now. It shouldn't take longer than that, meaning you shouldn't have really more than 4 to 5 tarot readings per situation or energy field you are watching, because then you just introduce more chance for noise. So it's important to make sure when you are working with someone that you also somehow teach them, so that they are able to feel a sense of empowerment to find the answer themselves. Because what you really want is this. If someone is, for example, in the back seat of an Uber and they just now realize that the Uber driver is going to kidnap them, they don't have a candle, they don't have an altar, they've just come back from the nightclub, so there's no way they're going to be meditating. They don't know where they are, so they can't be scrying using crystals. They can't use a compass and figure out where the east, north, west, south is to call the goddesses of the east and the watchtowers of the west. So all of your earth's religions have failed you in that when you're in a real situation, they cannot help you. The only one who can help you is Jesus, because he doesn't need anything except the feeling for you to be with him, and he's there. And that's the purpose of your initiation, so that you are able to be that Jesus, and you don't need anything because he will always be there for you. And so when you work with people, you will always be with them because you will leave them with some knowledge that they can use to empower themselves. Jesus works with like a pyramid scheme. He wants you to copy him, and then he wants you to do what he does, and then other people will want to copy you, and then you must teach them how to do what you do so that other people copy them, and then they teach them how to do. And then guess what? Before long, the whole world will know. And then that's when, quote unquote, Jesus comes back. But he's already back because he comes to your heart whenever you need him. So again, it goes back to that cosmic, ruthless love, which is no matter which option you choose, we've got you. You can do it this way or you can do it the hard way. But your soul made a promise, and we're not here to punish you. We're here to make it as optimized as possible for you. So let us get down to what reality actually looks like. And we are going to start by using our same bread idea so that we keep this channel of light that we've built going, and we will follow it all the way down to the manifestation. So let's start by taking what we have here and using a schematic, a representation to show what we are talking about. So we're going to change the ingredients or the things we need for our bread company, and we are going to focus solely on the planets. So when you see moon, we're talking about water, we're talking about night, or when God created night. When you see the sun, we are talking about dry things, dryness, or flower, or day. When we talk about Mercury, we're talking about containers. We're talking about the things you use to make the thing, but that aren't in the final thing, so you can't reverse engineer the thing to know what's in the thing. So I can give you a cake, and you know I used a bowl, but you don't know if I used a weight scale. Did I use a kettle to boil the water? Or maybe I used cold water, so I didn't need a kettle. So it makes it impossible for you to recreate. That's Mercury. Then when I talk about Venus, I want you to think about all of the things that you need to make the cake taste good. You need sugar, you need eggs, you need flour. Just like when God created grass and vegetation and all these other things that make life sweet. This gives things flavors. And then when I talk about Earth, I want you to think about a testing ground. Earth is where you go and figure out the perfect recipe before you actually send out the mass production finalized recipe. So Earth is your testing ground, and we use the stars in the sky and the zodiac to work out which tests we want to take. And that aligns to when God created the stars in the sky. Then we come to Mars. So whenever I talk about Mars, I'm talking about hell. Because hell is when you take all your ideas, you have your beautiful recipe. Hi, everyone in the chat. I do see the chat. I will respond shortly. So when you do take all your hard work, your recipe to the testing labs, that's like taking it to hell. It's like when you tell your best friend who is a logical minded person and you're an emotional minded person, you tell them your idea and they tell you that's never going to work. What about this? What about that? What about funding? What about financing? Where are you going to get someone to do a scene like that? That's hell. That's Mars. That's the testing phase. And it's necessary because you need to make sure that whatever you're doing can withstand the pressures of reality. And then, of course, once you've got the finalized idea, you've tested it and it's safe, you send it through for mass production. So you scale up and you increase the amount. So this is essentially when I talk about Jupiter, I'm talking about doing a lot. Like when Jesus or God said to people, be fruitful and multiply. And then when I talk about Saturn, I'm talking about a period of resting, thinking, re strategizing, the next step, kind of like a seven of coins, or maybe even an eight of coins, seven and eight of coins, that kind of thing. And then we'll talk about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and of course the returning star. But first, let's map all of this to planets. So while I do that, let's do a quick read on the room, in the room. So hi, Empowered Percussion. He says hi, or she. Hi, so I looked at my chart and I'm a 6, but I feel like I must be on the cusp of a 7 or something because I feel like you're talking to my experiences. I watched the other 3 videos for Group 7. You've sparked some things I've been longing to know. Thank you for coming, Empowered Percussion. And yes, you are absolutely right. This is the whole thing with initiation. It's about following your intuition over following what your five senses bring in. Because as we're going to look at today, sometimes there is something called galaxy static, which makes you doubt. And that's the thing, the same thing that makes time stretch on for ages between your manifestations and between your thoughts and your manifestations. And so when you give yourselves time to watch the light, that period of waiting, which feels like time, no longer becomes time or waiting because you're not waiting, you're watching light traveling beyond the speed of light, but you're traveling with it. You will notice that today might be, for example, a Monday, but you will always feel like you are a couple of days or a week ahead. People will say to you, what day is it? And you'll think, in your mind, however you perceive time, you'll always feel it's a few weeks ahead once you get to doing this. And this takes about 2 weeks, as I say in the detailed instructions in the description box, which give you from A to B how to find your star. This is your mapping session just to orient you into where you're going, because when you go, it's going to be fun, but you also need to know what to expect. So, like I said, I'm going to teach you how I would teach myself. Nothing fancy. This is called scribble bites. So we scribble and we draft because you're not meant to worship what I'm showing you. You're meant to just use it. Or you can abuse it, but something's happening. Okay, so let's start with bread. That's our idea. So I'm going to put a light around it. It's not any kind of planet. There's no association with it. It's that unknown part of God that we don't know where it comes from. Getting a message coming through. Empowered Percussion says, thank you. You have got my attention and love your gifting here. You're absolutely welcome. And Empowered Percussion, I'm here because you manifested me to come here. It's literally 3 o'clock in the morning where I am, and I would be doing nothing else except making sure that you have the tools because you've been here for ages and you've left something. I'm speaking specifically to Empowered Percussion. Yeah, you've left something throughout different dimensions that would help you remember something that you've been wanting to do since you were a kid. Yeah, I'm seeing it's your lifelong passion. You never gave it up, but you definitely did go into the ways of the world, and now you're thinking of walking away and regaining a sense of peace, a sense of mm, closure. We're looking for closure here. And this is it. Yeah, you're on your way. So you've gotten the closure, you've walked away, you know you've got something hidden here, and you're out to get it. Perfect. So I'm using empowered percussion as an avatar for the entire audience group. So I would say that you guys are definitely ready, which is a great sign because of the last 3 sessions. Okay, good. Let's go. Thank you for reminding me, someone out there. We always have to pray. When you forget to pray, that's galaxy static coming in. So we pray to hold the channel and clear the space. So let us begin. Our Father, who is in heaven, holy is your name, which created your kingdom of worlds. Your acts are done on earth as you do them in heaven. So please give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our lack of knowledge, as we forgive those in our lives who display a lack of knowledge. And keep us aware and self-aware during times we are close to displaying ignorance. Deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Our Mother, who is on earth, sent by the Son, Jesus, Yeshua Christ of Nazareth. Holy is your name, which ministers to your kingdoms within the worlds. Your works are seen in heaven as they are seen on earth. Give us tonight the manna of your light within this world, and let us drink from your secret wine of understanding, so that we may forgive and continue to forgive those who trespass against us, even if we did not trespass against them. Surround and fill us with Goddess goodness in all spheres, for thine is the power of the glory of the kingdom, forever and ever. And so it is. Nam Dominus es infinita sapientia intelligence. Feel the rush. You felt that, didn't you? So we have our idea, which is bread. This is not light. We can think of this as naught. So I'm going to put naught over here. Then I want us to look at 1.1 and 1.2. 1.1 would be your water on your flower, your wetness or night, and then your dryness, your day. Because remember, God separated the night from the day. So first the moon comes, then the sun comes. What came first, the chicken or the egg? You need a chicken to hold the egg. So the moon has to come first. You need a woman. You need a divine feminine. Again, this is not a gender specific thing. It's an energetic principle. We're going to primordial forces now. So again, your lives will be different because you're talking to primordial forces, and you'll notice they control the days of the week. So, Tuesday's Mars. So just watch what happens tomorrow. You'll be fine. You're a star marine. So we've got the moon and we've got the sun. These exist in their own charge because they are married. That's why you are undertaking this as your mono soul initiation, self-guided initiation, because you are being guided actually or overseen by the sun and the moon, or rather the activities of your star are being overseen by the sun and the moon, because the stars are not allowed to harm you during your initiation. So these two are married. Now, when we think of flour and water bind together. They hold each other together, regardless of what's in the flour, for example, salt, sugar, or what's in the water, for example, eggs or vanilla extract. Liquid and dry things need to bind. And there's something, we don't know what it is, that makes them stick together. Because why can't you use Play-Doh? Play-Doh is bound together with a liquid and something dry. Why can't you use rocks? Grind up some rocks and put them with some water. Those are two things. One is wet, one is dry, and it keeps together. But that's clay. That's Play-Doh. We want to eat because God wants us to eat. Now, demons will feed you Play Doh and feed you clay and feed you Soylent Green and tell you it's nutritious. But there's just something that we don't know about why bread is edible and it's good. So that's where we put number 2, mercury. Mercury represents the mysterion, the unknown factors. In your kitchen, yes, you have bowls and blenders and all of these gadgets, but when you serve the food to your guests, you're not going to tell them, yes, then I put this in the blender, then I chopped it up. And you know, these sun-dried tomatoes, I actually dehydrated them in my dehydrator. Then I put them out in the actual sun so the charges with the particles, you know, like how they do in Hollywood. We don't know. We don't need to know. And the reason we don't know and don't need to know is because this is how God protects the system. It's a self-protecting feature. No demon can get in there. If they do, they won't know what they are seeing because they've never seen a blender before. They've never seen a bowl, a kitchen utensil, a spatula. Imagine if an alien walked into your kitchen for the first time. How would you explain that thing you use on your coffee? You know, when you stamp the coffee and then it's like that thin thing and you, why don't you just use a stick? You know what I mean? So these are the mysterions. And again, if you reference all of what I'm telling you now back to your original soul reading, I think it was the first in this series, then you'll be able to see, oh, so where I had this, it's this planet. Where I have that, it's this. Now you're starting to drive. But I don't expect you to be able to put that together yet because we are just at step one of phase one. But that's where you'll be going to, and that's the purpose of this information, to use it. But after this, you'll be able to use it to map your world, where you are, and what's happening. So we've got our kitchen, or we've got our bowls and utensils. So now let's go to our kitchen, which is 3, Venus. So like I mentioned, Venus is your testing ground or pre-testing ground, or rather where you think of what you want to add, like your desires, guys. You know, Venus, it's about love, it's about beauty, it's about, I like, you know, how many tablespoons of sugar or teaspoons of sugar do you like in your tea? How many scoops of ice cream until you feel like you've had the right amount? Like if I have 3 scoops of ice cream, I feel like it's perfect. If I have 2, it's okay, but I'm gonna have some later. If I have 1, I'm literally just opening the fridge then. And oh, there's ice cream, let me have a scoop. And then I might have 10, depending on how many times I open the ice cream drawer in the fridge. So you know, Venus, let's get to Earth, because most times people leave Earth out. So Earth and Venus work together. If you look at the link in the description to the web node site, you will learn about why we work with Earth. We're not going to go into it now. I'm here to give you tools. But yes, I am a Zulu man. Zulu means heaven in English, in particular Venus. So my tribe in Africa, you can look us up. We live in the Zulu kingdom. It's all real, yes. And we come from Venus. Look at the site, they go into the whole story. That site is best viewed on a desktop or a horizontal screen. It was designed for a horizontal viewing experience. Okay, so Venus and Earth work together. Kitchen, test kitchen, recipes. Then we go to hell. I'm not even going to mince words about this. I'm not even going to. When I was being initiated and trained by my various godmothers, it's just hell. Okay? You can call it a place of transformation. You can call it a place where you can turn your base desires into something bigger and something. It's hell. Your job is to get out of hell. No, your job is to control hell. Yes. So that's where some people who start their initiation process run away. When I went to initiation school for graduation, I heard stories that made me think, wow, I had it easy. I was lucky. And I also thought, if that happened to me, there's no way in earth I would have initiated. So I'm sensitive to the fact that a lot of you listening are coming in having been through a lot of experiences, paranormal. I don't like that word paranormal, but a lot of experiences that are beyond the range of normal human frequency perception, and that might have scared you. And this might be sounding scary, but if you're here now, you know what's up. So I got very grateful after my graduation because I didn't have spirits showing up to my bed and pulling me out of the bed, rolling me on the floor, telling me to come initiate and flipping my car. I heard people say that their ancestors wanted them to initiate so bad that a car would flip over with five people. They are the only one who survives. Several stories like that. So when you are called to initiate, if you don't do it, they reboot you and you start again. So that's why it's important for me to do this because I know how it is. And I don't want you to go through that anymore. Okay. As Jesus says, for my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Let's change that. So that's what happens in hell. All the government regulations, we check your recipe. Did you do this correctly? All the fastidious teachers. And then let's go to 6, which is Jupiter. That's when everything's done and your, wishes are received and approved and we expand. This is what God wants for us. That's why some people say that Jupiter is Jehovah or Jupiter is Zeus. They're reading God's instruction of be fruitful and multiply, and they're just assigning a Roman planet to that one day God created something. Again, that's why God, Hashem, Kohadosh, is the number one. There is only one, and we are in it. So let's just follow that one. Why? Because when I was having my near-death experience, I'm sorry, but Buddha didn't come get me. Shiva didn't get me. Velinkangi didn't get me. Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit got me. So 7, Saturn, the hard truths of life. That's the hard cosmic truth. When I talk about hard truth or hard love, there's this brilliant astrologer called Wilhelm Ernst. Wilhelm Ernst talks about the 4 different types of love. And he talks about Ernst. He talks about, he's one of my favorite astrologers, probably the first person I'd go to in a crisis. So he talks about how you have material love, spiritual love, physical love, and then hard love. And hard love is that love where you say no, not because you are being a frag or a Matmos demon, a marine spirit, but you say no because you are nurturing development. That's what Saturn is. And that's what people often call Father Time. And then when you are a star marine, you get confused because you hear some people describing God like he's so good, he's so giving. And then you hear people describing God like he's so strict and mean and punishing people for stuff. So then you go, okay, well, is he good or is he bad? Now you know why. It's because people are assigning these different attributes to what they call God, which is the totality of creation, because these are just the days that Hashem created the world. So we want you to put that aside as your world script, because you're going to take everything we're doing and go back and act in real life with it. So this is going to be part of your character world. But now you're an actor, so you have to do the Stella Adler technique, the Lee Strasberg technique, the Stanislavski technique, which is you go outside of the world of the movie and you figure out your world and what you need to be able to function in this world in a way that it doesn't drive you crazy. So that's why Saturn rules hard things, because this process is hard. Your mind is going to feel like it's being reorganized. And that's a much nicer feeling than the person I'm hearing who's having a headache. Someone's been suffering from a migraine, and I'm being told that is from the overthinking and the five of wands energy, the stress. And that's how you feel when you're working with Saturnic energy well. Is your body flowing or is your body stressed? Things like headaches, Saturn, bones, the skull, headaches, bone issues, arthritis, osteoarthritis, all these things. It's showing that there's a hard love issue happening. There's not enough rest and recalibration. And then people stop there. But I'm going to go on because you're Star Marines and you're on an accelerated path. I did my initiation, I'm not going to say, but very long, like, oh, decades long. And you guys are going to be doing what I did in 7 years. Once you have this, it pulls you in. So no matter what, this will unlock the codes of the entire initiation in you just from this one video. But I will be doing the others to guide you through. So that's where they normally stop Saturn. And then they say, keep quiet, don't tell anyone, it's a secret. Or they say, oh, you have to sleep with this person to get the next part of the secret. This is where the corruption happens. That's why Spirit said, well, my godmother said, Spirit is working on a new project where all those mystery schools are now going online and are going decentralized because people were being taken advantage of under spiritual guise, and we don't do that. We don't allow such. We run our government well. We have 7 departments in our government, by the way. You are in one of those departments, but we'll get to each department, what they do and what the Bible actually is and how the books are organized as we go along, and why your Bible is your book of shadows, basically. It's just organized in a way where they wouldn't get killed, because our forebearers who carried this information through and hid it were trying to survive. So we'll get there and it'll all make sense finally. So now we're going to draw a little firmament over here, a little line, and we're going to go to the other planets. Now, when you finish, when you finish making your bread, it's stored up and everything. We talked about you have to then distribute it. So you have to call, what's that company? MAC, that huge MSC, those huge cargo ships, they distribute stuff. So you call MSC on the cargo ship and they load up your bread and they're going to take it to Oprah and me because we're having lunch. So that is ruled by Uranus. And I'm going to put Uranus and not the other one, because some people are going to be giggling and snickering. So we'll name that 8, or we can name it 1, but for right now I'll name it 8 because we're starting a new sequence. And Uranus controls two aspects because we have to go from the place where we made it, right? Your head, your idea has to go from your head to someone else. That's communication. Or you have to, take your manifestation from not having to having. And that in between phase is controlled by Uranus. Uranus moves your things and it takes them, it drops them off, it picks them up and drops them off. So Uranus controls 8 and 9, picking up from your shop or your storehouse, dropping it off where? At the target marketing people that we talked about. Remember, we said you take the product, then you send it to Hunter Scara, TWA, and they will house it for you, market it for you. They do all the logistics. Logistics. So 10 is what the logistical part would be. Target audience. Who is this movie for? That's when they do something called focus grouping in or focus groups. You pre-screen a movie, you see what the audience thinks, and then you cut it up, you show it again, you see what they think, you cut it up, so on and so forth. Then when you've cut it up according to a small group of your audience profile representatives or your focus group, that period or that part I just slipped out. You see, that's why I don't like to do these 3 planets, but I have to give them to you in one so you figure it out, because when you cross the veils, you start getting into Neptunian energy and you slip in and out. You guys would have noticed if you watched the Starseed University playlists when we did the lesson on dimensions and we did the 6 dimensions and I started getting woozy, the lower and lower we got. That's what happens. Okay, so not to worry, let's just use our Saturnic energy to recalibrate. And also, this is why when you are in a spiritual situation, even in a normal church or in an initiation kind of setting or an initiatory kind of setting, there is that kind of feeling that I've heard described where people, well, in psychology, we call it transference, but people end up falling in love with the guru or this weird sexual energy. And obviously, because you're dealing with that. And so, again, Spirit is excited to do things in this new way because it avoids all of those, I want to call them Matmos bizarro world distortions. And you are able to focus on the target and matter at hand. But that's again just another example of how when you look at these primordial forces, they look back at you. They don't care. They don't wait for sigils. They've been waiting. Okay, I literally feel my feet like they're in the ocean. So Neptune. So while that dries, let's talk about that. So Neptune would be the target marketing, right? You go to people and you connect their dreams because Neptune is the planet of dreams. I need an anchor, guys. I feel like I'm floating. Okay, thank you. They want me to just float away with it. So, so Neptune is that planet, that energy that to me reads like fine wine, and it's flowing fine wine, like that nice red wine, Burgundy. It's just so good. And Neptune is the sign of Jesus, obviously, because he's Pisces, the age of Pisces. We're in Aquarius now. And so Jesus has this same feeling. That's how I know he's like, not how I know he's there, he's always there, but that's his signature, his flavor. The energies have a different flavor He's not an energy, he's like a person, but the most advanced person you've seen. We'll get there. So that's Neptune energy. It's where you connect your idea to what other people want because you're not just doing it for yourself. It's not like that movie Monster Trucks where it was written by the guy's 4-year-old son and then he didn't know or understand why it tanked at the box office and then the studio had to let him go. No offense to that man, it's just a teaching experience we're using it for. And then you have your final part, your in-store launch, and that is Pluto. I'm going to put the target audience. But Pluto is essentially the final. Now, in your mystery schools, they'll tell you actually that the real God is Pluto. That's the big secret everyone's been hiding from you. That's what everyone is doing in those places where you need to do special things to get in. They are hiding the fact that the God is Pluto. Like I'm sorry to break it to you, but just, they said I must tell you. So when you look at the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life, you'll notice at the top it says Keta, the crown, and you'll notice it's ruled by Pluto. Exactly. Because the people who are controlling this world, I'll explain how it happened later because we were involved in doing this in our past lives. But they needed to carry information through, so it was hidden, but they couldn't exactly just hide it, they had to use it. So they put the world under Plutonic control. This world is controlled by Pluto. Think about it. People say, I will love, that people don't say, I will love for God and country. They say, I will die for God and country. That's Pluto. People say, oh my gosh, I love you to death. Pluto. People say, or people commit crimes. Watch the ID channel. People commit crimes of passion out of love, but they don't buy you flowers. They don't build you a kitchen. They don't bring you sugar. They take you to the underworld. So that's why you may have been feeling this weirdness between why do I love magic and have an affinity for magic, but why is the world telling me it's evil? It's because we had to make everything to do with Pluto seem scary to the world to block out people who are uninitiated in the soul from seeking the things that you are now seeking. So you are not meant to be afraid of the devil. You're not meant to be afraid of Pluto, of death, of skulls, of tarot cards, because you know the eighth house things. You come from a black hole. You've been through a black hole. I saw it here. So you know about light and light work. So, yes, now when you go out into the world, look around and see how many things have been coded with plutonic energy. When you graduate school, the color of Pluto is black. When you graduate school, you have to wear black. When you get married, you go to a black. Um, a priest is wearing black. And yes, someone out there, when I stop, it's because I'm listening to you guys through the TV, and someone said, yes, and when you graduate, you wear a square on your head, which is Saturn. Exactly. So what you're saying is your God is controlling your manifestations because Saturn holds your resting manifestation, your destiny. It's a low-key destiny swap. We're not going to get into that because that's Rebel Pebbles section. You can watch generic millennial programming on this channel on Scribble Bytes if you want to know about how they apply that. It's called generic millennial programming. It's a playlist and it deals with how magic meets the real world. Okay, so the world is plutonic. When you die, you wear black. At the funeral. In heaven, you wear white. And just look around. This is part of your things that you've now been initiated into. And secondly, don't be scared of skulls. Okay, don't be scared of anything. And then finally, we have the last part, which is the returning star. So I'm going to put here Quetzalcoatl. Please don't blame my spelling. I'm stuck with words. We don't use language where I come from. You can deal with it. Quetzalcoatl is Nibiru, the big star, the returning star, because there has to be something outside of this. God is going somewhere. God is in the expansion zone. So there has to be more. Now, again, I don't want you to think of this as the solar system, as the actual hardcore planets. You're simply thinking of this as the planets being solid state drives, and then the energy moving through them is specific to what that solid state drive can hold. Okay, so these are all SSDs. Like this is one brand, this is NVIDIA, this is, and then what can you store in there is where the energy comes from and how you tap into it. So I think that is a perfect place to stop for our first part of the first part. And then when we come back, we're going to go into how this applies to your actual mapped reality. So I'm going to give you the outline of what we are going to be doing in that session. I want to keep them at about an hour so that if someone's on break or whatever, they can just quickly watch and go back to work. Quickly to do this. It's not going to be like, this is like a pocket manifestation. You need to be able, pocket initiation. You need to be able to get it and go and live your lives because you cannot escape Earth. You must stay on Earth. Do not be like those people who drink potions to try and come to space because all they're doing is they're going to a rock. There's nothing there except a rock. Okay, so in the next hour, in the next session, we're going to look at the 4 worlds that govern these 12 steps. Because these things, these 12 steps, happen within 4 worlds of creation. And those 4 worlds are called Atzilus, Beria, Yetzira, Asiya. I did a video on this last year where I actually went to the beach and we drew on the sand the 4 worlds and how they come together. So just meditate on the beach before we start that one because that's a perfect place to visualize all these elements, dry, wet, coming together. And then we are going to do the 7 realms. And then we're going to do in another session the 5 pyramids, and that relates to your body because you're an archon, you arc energy on. Don't let the world tell you you're evil. So the 5 pyramids are in your body and they attract the energy through the 4 worlds coming from the 7 realms and into your life. So that's the light path we are watching. The 12 steps, working through the 4 worlds, and how it goes through the 7 realms, the 7 realms of existence, which are the material realm, the etheric realm, the mental realm, the astral realm, the causal realm, also called Lumania, the 6th dimension, also called God's throne room, and the expansion zone. 7 realms. Your prayers go through those 7 realms before they reach you or your thoughts. And those 7 realms go through 4 worlds. And those 4 worlds can only be accessed if you follow these 12 steps. And then we get to the 5 pyramids where you then absorb your light back. So that'll be in the next session. I appreciate you for watching. I'm just going to close with a quick reading from Manly P. Hall. So, Manly P. Hall, after this session, what can the adept take with them to really help them experience this information and not just have it in their minds. What do you say? You guys are really in the money now. I don't have to say anything. I'm being told it's obvious. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you for playing Night Game. Your next initiation step in the Monosol Directive will be following shortly.